Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm so excited to be back. My name is Aisha, for those of you that are new here, and I'm the host of the podcast. I was away for a bit because I had to study for my driver theory exam, and I also had the exam, which I completely failed. But that is okay. I'm super happy to be back. And in this episode, we are going to be talking about a topic of mine that I'm super passionate about, and that is entrepreneurship. Specifically, we will be discussing how you can start cultivating entrepreneurial skills. But before we get into that, I want to give a small announcement. And that is, you probably saw it already, that the name changed from Coexisting in Real Life to Dream Life Design Lab. And the reason for that is that I have spent the last 2.5 months doing research, designing the business model of this project. And it was really time to give it a name that was reflecting more what it is about, what the business is about. I chose the name Dream Life Design Lab because my mission is to empower women to get the most out of their potential. I know that we women, we are breaking through barriers. We want more out of our lives, and entrepreneurship, shifting into entrepreneurship is one of the best ways to do that because it gives us the freedom that we desire. It gives us the financial stability that we want. But in order to get all of that, there is so much that needs to happen. And I'm here to help and guide women through those steps of designing a life that is truly their dream life. So I'm super excited with the name change. I hope you like it as well. And I'm still looking for a slogan. I will be talking more about that on my Instagram in the coming weeks because I haven't been able to settle on a slogan, but maybe you can help me do that as well. But back to the episode and talking about entrepreneurial skills. And we really, really, really need to talk about cultivating entrepreneurial skills because at the end of the day, if you want to live life on your own terms, if you want to put your dream life into action, the one thing you need to be able to do in order to sustain yourself financially is to master the skill of value creation. And value creation, in essence, is what entrepreneurship is all about. It's about finding a group of people that have a certain problem, and you create either a product or a service that solves this problem for them. And in turn, you get to capture that value and generate money out of it. So that is in essence what entrepreneurship is about. And the fun thing about designing a life on your own terms is that you can really take a look at what are your strengths? What are the things that you value yourself? What are the things that you are passionate about? And use this as how you are going to approach finding how you're going to create value for other people. So at the end of the episode, I really want you to understand why these skills are so important to cultivate. And my focus here is really to help you cultivate these skills in a way that is super easy. So you don't have to put in extra effort to cultivate entrepreneurial skills because a lot of it is things that are already happening in our lives. It's more about becoming more aware and intentionally tell yourself, okay, I'm going to do this to practice this skill. And this topic is super important if you currently have a side project that maybe you did capture some value already, maybe you didn't, maybe you just feel a little bit lost in it, or maybe you feel like you've captured value, but you don't see how this is going to be sustainable on the long run. And this is super important to talk about: value creation, entrepreneurship, designing a business model, because the number one reason why businesses fail is because they didn't have a business model that they thought through. They didn't have a business model that they tested. They just went with it. They mistook engagement maybe for a business, which is a mistake that a lot of people do. And I get it because, to be honest, if you don't have a background or if you didn't study business, even people that study business can get this wrong. So I just want you to know that not all hope is lost. There is a systematic approach to designing a business that is sustainable. However, in order to do this, you also need the entrepreneurial skills. And entrepreneurial skills, we can distinguish them on the one hand in soft skills. So these are things like creativity, being able to solve problems. And then we also have hard skills, which is more like, how do I do user research? How do I develop a marketing strategy? How do I develop a business model? We are not going to be talking about those today. However, I do want to invite you to connect with me on Instagram at dreamlifedesign.lab. Lab, or if you just look up Dream Life Design Lab, you will find it. And send me a DM if you are already in that phase of developing your business model and you are stuck, because I would love to help you getting unstuck and give you some ideas of how you can approach it in a way that you also feel confident. Because in the end, when you learn these skills, it's about applying it on your side project, but also you will carry these skills through to other parts of your life. So please accept my invitation and send me a DM on Instagram. Before we talk about what those skills are, I want to talk a little bit more about entrepreneurship and demystify it. Entrepreneurship, I kind of gave a hint already. We can split it up into two things. So on the one hand, it's about creating value. And when we talk about creating value, it's about finding a problem that needs to be solved for someone. And there are some steps that you need to take there in order to do that. So for example, you need to be able to conduct user research. You need to be able to discover ideas. You need to be able to test these ideas before you execute something, invest all your time and money, and then it's not what you thought it was. So there are different activities that are important to do when you are in the value creation phase of entrepreneurship. And the other part of it is once you have that idea, when it's like more concrete, you also need to capture that value, right? And this is done through one, developing a sustainable business model, developing a go-to-market strategy, developing a pricing and packaging model that is attractive. And there are very important things that we need to think about when we are in both phases. However, in this episode, we're not going to be talking about those steps. We're going to talk about the skills that you can utilize in both of these processes of entrepreneurship. And these skills are super important. They are life skills. You will benefit so much from getting better at these skills, even outside of this side project. I want to make sure that you feel confident when you are executing on these two processes, because this is very important, because entrepreneurship is basically dealing with a lot of uncertainty. And when you are dealing with a lot of uncertainty, the one thing you want to have is trust in your own skills. And of course, you don't need to wait until you trust all of your skills. You don't need to wait until you're perfect. That is not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying here is that you need to be able to rely on having these skills in order to execute on the processes that's going to get you to a place of having a sustainable business model that is capturing the value that you want. Because in the end, this is the thing that's going to sustain your freedom lifestyle, basically. And the one thing about entrepreneurship is you are going to be doing things that you've never done before. Like so much of designing a business model, I also did a lot of things that I have never done before. But because I was able to trust on these street top skills, I was able to do it in a way that I felt like, okay, I can trust myself and I can trust the way that I am executing on it. So I will stop teasing you with this and let's get into what these skills are and how you can start cultivating them today. The three skills that we are going to be talking about today are 1, curiosity, 2, problem solving, and number 3, deep empathy communication skills. Let's start with curiosity. Curiosity is a crucial entrepreneurial skill because you need to come up with creative ideas. You need to gain an understanding of the world of other people. You need to continuously improve yourself. You need to be able to deal with setbacks. And curiosity essentially is a mindset where we don't take for granted what is in front of us. We don't take for granted what other people are saying to us. We dig a little bit deeper. We try to understand how does this work? Why is it the way it is? What does that mean? Like trying to put connections between a web of intertwined, complex relationships and really trying to understand what is happening here. And curiosity is a great way to do that. And I think as women as well, because we deal with so many internal barriers like fear of failure, minimizing ourselves, having imposter syndrome, having a mindset of curiosity is going to put us in a place where we are not going to accept that. We are going to be curious about how can I make a change in my life where I can bridge over this internal barrier? what can I do to approach this differently next time? So being curious and having that curious mindset is going to benefit you tremendously because one, it will benefit your own personal development. And two, it's going to benefit your side project in that process of becoming a business because you are curious about how am I going to actually translate it from my passion project. So now it's something that's super fun to me and I do it because it brings joy to, oh, this is a business and this business is going to help these people close this gap. And curiosity is super important because in that process of making that translation, you need to iterate, you need to test your ideas. And if you are not curious about all the possibilities, you're also not going to be open-minded. So being curious really helps us staying open-minded and also accept like when things go a direction that maybe we didn't expect them to go. So before I settled on Dream Life Design Lab, I was talking more about internal conflicts. And curiosity was a very important skill because I went to talk with different people and I really put effort into trying to understand the core of the needs that they had in their life. And through my curiosity, I came to this idea. So I just want you to see that being curious is very important. And I think a lot of times women, we are held back because we think, oh, it's not our place. Or sometimes we might feel guilt about knowing all the things we know and like really stepping into, that light and really accepting that, I can be curious about topics. I can ask people more questions. I can challenge people. And this is something that I really had to learn. And you can also learn this. And now I'm going to tell you how. And you don't even need to put a lot of effort into this. As I just probably said, through conversations with people, whenever you are talking to people, doesn't matter where, it can be at work, it can be your family, just ask them more questions about what they are saying. Ask them why. When they give their opinion about something, ask them, why do you think like that? Or why do you think that? Ask them why. Why do you think that way? What is it that you're after? How do you do that? Just asking more questions. And that is enough to train your brain to start being curious and to look for deeper things. Salespeople are really, really good at this. And this is really something we can learn from them. And it's also something that I learned when I had my first job, which is in sales. So if you've done sales, I think it's a great skill because then you also know that you need to ask more questions and you need to really be curious about what people are saying. The other way, if you don't like to talk to people, is when you go on walks, just try to notice new things because this is also the same muscle that you're practicing. You're searching for new information. You're searching for something that you didn't notice that was there before. So those two things, through conversation with other people, asking deeper questions, trying really to get to the core of things. And two, when you go on walks, try to notice new things. Now, on to the other next skill, which is one of my favorite skills ever. And it's also like the skill that I am really good at. And I really know for sure that I'm good at it because I have created that evidence for myself, and that is problem solving. And why is problem solving so important? As an entrepreneur, your sole task is to go from an uncertain environment, so an idea, a problem you think exists, to a validated idea. So this is the problem for these people. This is what it will bring them if I solve it. This is how I can solve it. This is how I can sell it to them. This is how I'm going to market it to them. This is how I'm going to generate income, So this is basically your business model. And you start from a super uncertain, open-ended question. You start from a side project that is simply your passion. And in order to bridge that gap, you need to see all of these things as questions that you need to answer, as problems that need to be solved. And if you don't know anything about marketing or sales, which is likely the case, you need to be able to have good problem solving skills to approach this in a way that you're able to really understand what is the core of the question and how do I go about either researching, gathering data, gathering information so that I can answer that question. And problem solving skills are one about identifying what is actually the problem and having an approach to solving this problem. And this skill is a skill that we are encountered with in everyday life. So you don't need to wait to be able to practice this skill, but it is more about being aware that, hey, this in front of me, I can see it as a question that needs to be answered. I can see it as a problem that I can solve. And in order to do that, I'm going to take this approach. So it's really about taking a more analytical approach, a more systematic approach to problem solving, where you don't immediately see a question and you jump into a detail. I used to do that a lot, and it's really through practice that I learned to kind of understand like the logical reasoning tree that is in front of me. So if I have to answer the question, what is my marketing strategy, for example, I need to ask myself, what is a marketing strategy? A marketing strategy has all these components. Okay, so that is my big question. Now I know the components that I need to answer. And now I'm going to take a look at my components. So, hey, it says that I need to know what my value proposition is. Okay, did I already get there actually? No. Is that actually step one? Or is it step three? Because if I'm going to jump into step three, that doesn't make sense. Problem solving is really about strengthening that logical reasoning muscle that you already have. Not everyone is super strong at this, but that is okay because you can teach yourself and you can practice this skill. And as you know, skills, a lifestyle, anything can be created through practice and through strengthening that pathway in your brain. And how can you sharpen your problem solving skills? I think when it comes to problem solving, the one thing that's super important is mindset. So mindset is looking at problems as nothing other than challenges that can be solved, as complex webs that can be detangled. And having that mindset is important because a lot of people will look at problems like it's not solvable. But actually, that's the first question you need to ask yourself. Is it a solvable problem or is it not? And in business, everything is solvable. So good for you that everything can be detangled. You can research things. You can use your resources online to figure out, hey, what does this component of business actually mean? And how should I go about it in a way that I'm also building a sustainable business? That is very important, having the mindset. The other part is you don't really need to look much further than what you already have around you. So use your resources. And if you have a 9 to 5, which most of you do, and a lot of you are knowledge workers. And the strong thing about knowledge workers is that you are asked to be analytical in your approach. You are asked to solve problems at work as well. So I need you to reflect a little bit and ask yourself, how can I take on projects at work where I am put in positions that I can solve more problems and become better at problem solving? If you're going to be at your 9 to 5, you might as well use that opportunity to get better at the skills that are going to benefit your dream life. And problem solving, I can guarantee you, is one of them. Because as an entrepreneur, what you're doing is you are solving problems for other people, you are solving problems for your business, and you're going to keep iterating through that. So this skill is super, super important to have in your back pocket and to become stronger at. And your 9 to 5 is the perfect place for you to practice that. If you feel like you want to invest more time and have a more systematic approach to learning about problem solving, again, send me a DM because I know of a lot of thinking frameworks that are super helpful for people that really want to have this skill to be one of their top ones. And for me, it's also one of my favorite skills to have. And I can tell you that with time, through practice and through solving more problems, I became really good at it. And now when I have a problem in front of me, I already know exactly how I'm going to approach it. And it also makes it that you can solve problems faster because you have a systematic approach. This is a life tip. All right. And the last skill that we are talking about today is deep empathy. Okay. And what is deep empathy? Deep empathy. So empathy, of course, is that you can relate to other people. You can feel the way that they are experiencing life. And deep empathy is a level deeper than that. As an entrepreneur, you're going to be solving a problem for another person. And this is what's going to allow you to capture that value. And for that first step, to be able to solve that problem, you need to have a really, really deep understanding of who it is you are solving that problem for. What type of person are they? What type of work do they do? What do they do in their free time? What are their goals in life? What are their aspirations? What are things that they think hold them back? And what are things that when you hear them talk, you feel like, they are saying this and that, but they are acting that way. So you also need to put two and two together in order to really understand what is going on. Some people might say yes, but deep down they feel no. You need to be able to see that. And you can do that with deep empathy. And deep empathy is something that you cultivate from two ways. So one is you are talking with people that you want to help. So you really need to be in conversation with whoever you think your end user is. You need to talk to them, have these conversations, discuss these things. And at the same time, you need to be doing research about this group. So if you want to help women, talk to women, hear what they say, talk about their dreams, talk about their challenges, talk about their life vision, but also do research into understanding scientifically what are the barriers that hold women back. Because research will say one thing and people might say half of the truth. So deep empathy is really about putting these two together and really feeling it in your core what it is that your end user is also going through. And the reason why you need to have this skill is because as an entrepreneur, when you start developing your business model, you are going to be making a lot of decisions about what is going to work for your end user, and you want to base it off at least the right information. So deep empathy is what is going to get you that. And I will say that deep empathy and curiosity are interlinked. So curiosity is going to really help you to ask those deeper questions, and deep empathy is really going to help you to also feel it in your core, so that when you are talking and representing your end user, when you are making these decisions in your business model, you're able to say, I really believe that this is how they're going to feel about it. I really believe that this is how they're going to think about it. And how do you cultivate deep empathy? Same as with curiosity, you need to be talking to people, ask them why. Really try to put yourself into their shoes. How would they feel? How would I feel if I had to walk a mile into their shoes? What are all the touch points that this people has with this experience that they're trying to get? What are the ways that the problems that they have are holding them back? How does this manifest in their life? What do they do to solve that? What steps do they take? Who do they talk to? What are they saying about this experience? What are they not saying that I feel like I can read through the line? So this is really what deep empathy is about. And you don't need to wait until you speak with the people, your target group, to figure this out. You can also cultivate deep empathy through conversations with your family, through conversations with friends, also at work, for example. And this is a really great skill that you need to be able to cultivate, because at the end of the day, your business model needs to be customer centric. So this is the biggest transition that you're going to make. You're going to go from you centric, where you are the one that is putting in the work, where it's your passion, where it sparks joy for you, to something that has to be really, really fitted to solving the problems of the person that you want to help. And this is why deep empathy is super important to cultivate. And as I said, you can do it through conversations with other people. Okay, this mic is really annoying today. But people, we are at the end of the episode. So I really hope that you have enough information to get started with practicing these super important entrepreneurial skills of curiosity, problem solving, and deep empathy. These skills are super important, as I said, to transition from a side project to a business that is sustaining your dream life. Thank you for listening. Connect with me on Instagram, so at dreamlifedesign.lab. The video will be on YouTube this Thursday. And thank you so much for listening. And I hope to see you next time. Have a good day. Bye.